hidden samarasa similitude is indicated on the surface of things. Think of the Amanita muscaria mushroom with the red and the white, the big red dots, the white dots. A visible mark for an invisible analogy, to make it known so that we can recognize it. The dome of the sky reflects the dome of our speech, from our throat to our lips. Imagine this as a dome. The stations of articulation and their operation in speech mark our vocal dome as the stars mark the sky. The domes are analogues of each other. For, as the stars are witnesses, and therefore the storytellers, crisscrossing all lives and all events, now and forever, speech makes those stories known and establishes the possibility of all knowledge. Knowledge is transported in the boat of storytelling across the ocean of story. The speech of the sky contains within it the language of the book of the world, whose syllables reside in the sacred geography of our mouths. The operations of the vocal cords and the breath taking place at the 5 places of articulation, ranging from our throat to our lips, give rise to 50 syllables, from a to ha, which are the elements forming the foundation of speaking and therefore knowledge. These syllables create the world and at the same time contain all the possibilities of knowing that world. We worship these syllables collectively as the mother goddess, and individually as Matrikas, the little mothers. So each one of the syllables that we articulate is known as one of the little mothers who collectively form the great mother who is the world. We make pilgrimages to those shrines, crossing over places in the sacred geography of our mouths. We beat the drums, ring the bells there for worship, and use each one of those holy places to erect mirrors of her sacred syllables, which then reflect all of her creation. It is said that before speaking, Shiva once played his double-headed drum, and the sound of each beat produced a little mother who is known by her syllable. The striking of the drum resembles the striking of our vocal apparatus to produce syllables. The arrangement of nature may appear chaotic, but it is not accidental. When I saw that nature placed 2 things next to each other, I realized there to be an interior connection between these 2 things, and that they share a similarity. And in this bond, properties, movements, and influences are exchanged. Syllables and sounds are linked together as they touch and change each other. Everything in the world is adjacent to something else, and so is linked in a great chain of the things of the world. The mother of creation is known as Saraswati. her onomatopoeic name reflects the primal contact of earth and water. And if one listens to water running over stones, one can hear her name, sort of Saraswati. And she has many other names as well. One of them is speech. She is the power, the Shakti of articulation, of speech, and of knowledge. She creates the world with the primordial word, a striking of the string on her vina. In fact, she is that primordial word. Before there is the world, there is only pure consciousness. The tradition thinks of as the god Shiva. Shiva is the god of consciousness. One may think of Shiva as the simple syllable an articulation that is yet to manifest anything. If you'll pronounce it, can you pronounce it? This is a sound that we produce when our thought has not yet crystallized, such as trying to remember somebody's name. What was his name? And then hopefully the name will come, the sound will crystallize. But before it crystallizes, is the world in potential. But as yet, without differentiation. Our first beholding of creation is in the stress which arises from the divine desire of the one to be many. For the undifferentiated one to know itself, creating two, a subject and an object. The first movement which takes place in the dome of speaking is that from to e. E. If you pronounce it yourself, you can feel this first movement, the first stress. This E is the seed syllable of divine desire. The narrative of creation thus becomes an analogue of speech. As the story unfolds, as the creation unfolds, so does movement take place in the dome of speech. The syllables unfold in the dome of speech like so many little mothers creating the world. They combust in that first movement of to E. According to that narrative, primordial consciousness, the potential subject of knowledge, and primordial matter, as yet unmanifest, the potential object of knowledge, the syllable E, appear through cosmic mind stuff, reflected in an unruffled mirror lake of intellect, into a separation of a subject and an object of knowledge. A discrimination arises between the same and the other, which are identical reflections of one another. The world's existence, however, requires a drop in the mirror lake, creating a ripple, a desire for identity, for separation. That first ripple coming from this drop is movement itself, and we know it as ego, as ahamkara in Sanskrit, of identity. and three qualities excite from this first movement the creation of the entire world. With the active pulling, the passive resisting, and the balanced balancing, the world comes into existence with a thunderous ahum, the 50 syllables and their mirrors manifesting the entire world. The syllables all join together in a chain of the world, and according to how those sounds coalesce, come together in our dome of speech, determines how we know that world. The garland, the necklace of these syllables, the Varnamala, Kali's necklace of skulls, is a chain of convenience where all things are proximate to each other. Convenience is an upama, a resemblance, connected with space in the form of a graduated scale of proximity. In the adjacency of syllables, an upama of place, a resemblance of place appears, marking a site where nature has placed two things, and between those two things, movements, passions, and influences are exchanged, even among syllables. This relationship is the hidden reason for their adjacency, upon which is superimposed the visible mark. Resemblance, however, is not limited to place and is able to function at a distance without motion, like the reflection in a mirror, a duplication of the world. Reflection enables things to imitate each other, to imitate one another from one end of the universe without connection or proximity. Distance does not exist between things that are reflected. After all, what is the distance between your reflected image in a mirror and its surface? So reflection does not require either proximity, distance, or movement. Upama, as analogy, joins together proximity and reflection, and through it, all marks and signs of the universe can be drawn together. Things resemble each other. Signatures of the world tells us where the analogy lies, how one sees it, by what mark it may be recognized.